My guest today is a woman who knows how to fight, frustrate, and defeat the statists who are implementing Agenda 21 on the local, state, and federal levels. Linda Stowe LaPrade is a private property rights activist in Roanoke, Virginia. She works alongside the American Policy Organization in Washington to conduct webinars for people who want to defeat Agenda 21 in their hometowns. Linda, welcome to True News.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. I am from Roanoke County, and to give listeners a little bit of a hint as to what this area is like, it's 250 square miles. It has a population of about 92,500, and we are partially urban and partially rural. It has a very high quality of life with many, many natural resources, and private property is a key concern to the areas around here.
Absolutely.
People take great pride in their land and in their property and in their right to be free. And actually, Agenda 21, as you well know, Rick, is all about control. And that's what we're fighting against.
Absolutely. Roanoke, Virginia is a beautiful city. I've been there many times, and a wonderful community. And you're right. Private property rights are a cherished right. I mean, many of the people living in Roanoke trace their ancestry back to the pre-Revolutionary War days. Linda, I grew up in Western Maryland. And that spirit runs deep in our blood. It's in our genes, and so I know the people of Virginia, and I know that private property rights is a very valuable, important, cherished right. However, not all Americans today cherish that right. There's a lot of them that, particularly in the governments, who absolutely want to remove private property rights.
That is true, and that's why we feel the best place to begin our fight, and we are just beginning, is on a local level. Because with local level and local people, you can be successful, even with a small group of people. I think so many times today people feel hopeless. They feel like there's nothing a small group can do, and we can. We can make a difference.
Linda, when did you first
started?
When did you first encounter government agencies, encroaching on private property rights in Roanoke?
What we began to do was a small group of us started meeting together. We were concerned about property rights, zoning. We were also concerned that industrial wind turbines were beginning to look at some of the mountains around here. And this led us to discover ICLEI, do a lot of research, and find out what ICLEI really was all about.
What's ICLEI?
All right. ICLEI is the local way of implementing Agenda 21. It was founded as the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives at the Congress for Local Governments for a Sustainable Future at the UN in 1990. It did give input into the formation of Agenda 21, and their function is to help implement a lot of these goals on the local government level. So one of the things that people need to do is to do some research on their own government, city, county, and find out if they're ICLEI members, and then work to get that removed.
ICLEI, is this ICLA?
It's ICLEI.
LEI. All right. What does this stand for?
International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. Now, one interesting thing that you will note about Agenda 21, the UN, and ICLEI is that they do begin to change terminology and they change their names. ICLEI began as this, and then there was a little bit of a question, should local governments be members of the United Nations auspices here. And so now it is ICLEI USA. Their total emphasis is on man-made global warming, as they originally called it, which became global warming and is now climate change. And ICLEI focuses on reducing CO2 emissions in local communities.
Where is ICLEI USA located?
ICLEI USA is located in California. However, all ICLEI reports that are submitted go to ICLEI International, which is in Bonn, Germany.
And who funds ICLEI USA?
ICLEI USA is funded by memberships. When a county or a city becomes a member of ICLEI, they pay a fee. In our case, it was $1,200, and they get access to information provided by ICLEI and software provided by ICLEI. Now, we could find no evidence that this software had been vetted by any independent source as to its validity. And you know, computer programs can present the data based on what you feed into and how the program is structured.
That's right. Now, ICLEI International in Bonn, Germany, who funds it?
The local memberships. There are memberships all over the world in ICLEI.
So part of the funding, like your county, Roanoke County, when they joined ICLEI USA, part of those funds went to the international agency.
As far as I know.
Okay.
Now, I do not have the facts.
Now, is ICLEI International, is this an official United Nations subsidiary?
It is not a subsidiary. It is a valued partner.
Okay. But it's officially connected to the United Nations.
It is connected to the United Nations. They hold meetings there. They participate in all of their international summits and meetings.
All right, so the United Nations comes up with these global schemes, and then it filters down to the national level and the state level, and then to the local city and county level. And ICLEI, the role it plays is making sure that the city councils, the county commissions all over America are implementing Agenda 21.
That is correct. They have 5 goals. All of their theory, all of their data, all of their information is based solely on CO2. That is their concern. One interesting thing, and we found this through a FOIA request, is that when a city joins ICLEI, because one of the things that we were told is, it's all voluntary and it's not a part of the UN, this is a statement from the membership application. Upon receipt of membership fees and resolutions to join, your jurisdiction will be considered a full ICLEI member. All ICLEI council members are governed by the ICLEI charter. And I'd urge people to go on the ICLEI website and look at that charter and see how closely it relates and references Agenda 21.
Now, Linda, personally, on local level, did you encounter Agenda 21 regarding property that you owned or somebody else that was having trouble maintaining their property rights?
No, we did not. Mm-hmm. We felt that it was going to be best to try to take an aggressive approach and to get as much done as we could before those problems truly developed.
When did you become aware of Agenda 21? Is it when your county joined ICLEI?
The county joined ICLEI in 2011, and we began reading the information in 2011 and began seeing property rights eroding throughout the country and decided to take a look at it. And so in 2011 is when we became active in trying to remove our locality from ICLEI membership.
Were you successful?
We were. It took a while. What people have to understand when they're fighting with things like this is that they have to be persistent, they have to be determined, and they have to do good research. It doesn't take a large group of people, but it takes a very determined group of people. We had 2 or 3 members to speak at our county board meetings for almost 3 years. And we addressed issues that related to ICLEI, that related to Agenda 21. We addressed issues that related to global warming and that it is not a settled science. We discussed the fact that science is based on empirical evidence and not just a consensus building of like-minded scientists. We talked about all of those things, and we gradually began to convince more and more people. We were very fortunate in that we had one supervisor at that time who was concerned about property rights and listened to us and did research on his own. We had another as we began to present information that said, I voted for this to start with, but it was a mistake. I don't want it now. And then in this last campaign for supervisors, we actually had people running where removing Roanoke County from ICLEI membership was an issue in their campaign.
Agenda 21 became a political issue in the local Board of Supervisor races.
Yes, it did.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What kind of opposition did you encounter?
Well, if you had heard Tom DeWeese's webinar, you heard him speak of the NGOs. And the NGOs are there. One of the things that I would suggest people do is to go on the ICLEI website and to look for their list of partners, and then to look at their localities to find out what of those partners are active in their locality, because that will be your opposition. In our case, the Sierra Club was very active. Cool Cities Coalition, which is an environmental branch of the Sierra Club. The Chamber of Commerce was active. And, of course, you look at local colleges and universities who have green programs and get grants for those.
The Chamber
to be aware of those as well.
Linda, was the Chamber of Commerce on the side of Agenda 21?
The Chamber of Commerce was on the side of, as they stated it, protecting the environment. Now, our Board of Supervisors certainly wants to protect our environment, and they want to do it without UN interference. The Chamber of Commerce felt that being a member of ICLEI would attract businesses to the area, and that simply, from my research, has not proven true in various localities.
What about county bureaucrats? Did anybody speak up in favor of it?
We had, when a county joins ICLEI, a county or city staff member will be the liaison. And that we did have a staff person who was very much in favor of ICLEI and supported it. And she did speak out on ICLEI, and the county formed a group of advisory citizens. All of these people bought into the ICLEI plan and the Agenda 21, and, of course, supported it. When we looked at their reports, however, that they were submitting of things that Roanoke County had done, we really found some things in there that called a lot into question and got a lot of people's attention. Again, another good way to use a FOIA.
Can you give us an example?
Certainly I can. They said that they saved over 100 tons of CO2 by handing out energy tip sheets. Now, you know what happens to most sheets that are handed out at mass meetings. They end up in the circular file.
Wait, they saved 100 tons by just handing out tip sheets.
That was in the report.
Where did they come up with the 100 tons?
Through the ICLEI software. You see the circle we're going in, don't you?
Yes. So is ICLEI the main artery through which the Agenda 21 directives flow down from the UN to the city and county level?
Of course, we do have things like EPA, who are always trying to infringe on property rights, and that, to a large extent, is Agenda 21 motivated.
Yes.
But
that's a federal level trying to push its way into the local level. But as far as trying to get the county board of planning and zoning and various county agencies or city agencies, is ICLEI the main artery?
ICLEI is a main artery. Now, another thing that we need to be very aware of is that the American Planning Association also has many of their vision statements and goals very similar to what's in Agenda 21. So it is in one way or another working its way into zoning and planning. Okay,
so if citizens sever the artery from their city or county with ICLEI, they've done serious damage to the United Nations' ability to get their agenda into their community.
That's what we are hoping, and we also realize that this is the first step. It is not the end. It is only a first step, and then to begin looking at local implementation of zoning, of things like that do affect property rights.
When did you manage to get the county out of ICLEI?
In June of this year.
Oh, just this year? Wow.
This year.
Okay. Have you seen any signs that they're trying to sneak in the back door?
We have not yet. What we have, we are keeping a close watch on everything. Our Board of Supervisors, as I said, are very, very much in favor of and working toward protecting the environment. One of the things that they did was to give our local advisory group the opportunity to stay on and work with the environment just without ICLEI and the Agenda 21 link. They chose not to do this. So this kind of let us know what their agenda really was, and we have the county disbanded them, and we are now working within departments and within citizens and parks and rec to find ways to keep our environment safe and to preserve it.
That's great. Are you aware of any other communities that have done what you've done?
The first one that I heard of was in Maryland, and there are more and more communities all through the country dropping ICLEI membership as a first step.
Do you know what part? Do you know where in Maryland? Do you remember which part of Maryland?
It was, I think, near the Baltimore area, but I'm not sure.
Okay, it wasn't Carroll County, was it?
It was Carroll County.
I kind of guessed it was going to be Carroll County.
Mr. Rothschild.
How about that? Well, congratulations to them.
And we have been working. At one point, ICLEI had over 600 members in the United States. And now that number is down by at least 100.
Wow. Fantastic work by citizens rising up against the United Nations.
This is what it takes. It takes persistence. It takes citizens willing to work together. Everyone in our group had strengths. Some didn't want to speak. Some did wonderful research. Others wrote letters to the editor, which may or may not be published. Our newspaper is a liberal one. They didn't publish all of them. But people kept trying. They kept trying to get the word out. And that's what it takes. And it's all done through a love of their community and a love of freedom.
All right, last question. You mentioned Tom DeWeese over at American Policy, and he is conducting these webinars for people to do just what you've done, to disconnect from ICLEI and defeat the Agenda 21 plans in their hometown. If I understand, you're participating in those webinars, right?
I did. I worked on the second one, and the first and second are online at AmericanPolicyCenter.org. There will be a third one this Sunday at 6 p.m., and people could sign up for that at that same website, AmericanPolicyCenter.org. And this one should be very interesting because he is going to discuss where the money comes from for these NGOs and the grant-driven environmental groups that are there. Also, the director of CFACT, the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, has attended some of the international UN-sponsored meetings, and he will be there to tell people what he saw and what he learned.
Fantastic. That's coming up this coming Sunday. Go to the website of the American Policy Center. My guest, Linda Stowe LaPrade from Roanoke County, Virginia. God bless you, Linda. Your encouragement, average
Thank
citizen.
You. And if I could mention a couple of other things real quickly.
Go ahead.
It is very important that citizens keep up with what's going on because with our government, the control seems to be expanding so quickly. Just this week, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Gina McCarthy, said in an interview that she believed climate science should be included in the school curriculums. This is something that we will need to watch. Another thing that is going on as well is that in September, and this is September the 25th, in New York City, at the UN, there will be a summit of world leaders to look to a kind of formless, at this time, universal sustainable development agenda that they hope to take effect in 2020. So we need to be aware of that, keep on top of it, and make our friends and our neighbors aware of what's going on.
That's
and, of
huge.
course, the youth.
What you just said is huge, this UN summit for a global sustainable development agenda to be implemented by 2020. That lines up with some other things I've heard is underway. And we all need to be watching that one. Linda, thank you so much. We appreciate all that you're doing. My guest, Linda Stowe LaPrade, fighting Agenda 21. Sign up for the American Policy Center's next seminar, which is online. Their webinar coming up this Sunday. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you very much.